Mark Matthews, the president of the North Sea Maritime Center, and I very much appreciate you coming out to hear our fellow director talk about the wonderful things that he creates for Southampton and for his clients. I've known Mark for many years, and we're lucky to have him speak to us tonight. And on a personal level, we're extremely lucky to have him as one of our important directors of the North Sea Maritime Center. Ted Anderson, Vice President of Fundraising for the Maritime Center, is going to move it on from here and then introduce Mark. So once again, thank you for being here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ted Anderson. As Mark, our president, told you, I am one of the officers and directors of the North Sea Maritime Center. The North Sea Maritime Center is a 501c3 non-for-profit organization that was created a number of years ago for a first-class restoration of the Tupper Boathouse out on Conscience Point. As you know, or many of you know, and maybe some of you don't know, Conscience Point is one of the most historic sites in the Southampton area. It is one of the original sites, purportedly, where the English settlers first settled Southampton. The boathouse is going to be a community center, and it'll be a center where we have an opportunity to do programming like the programming you're going to hear tonight. Already we've had 2 years of programming. We don't have a home yet. The Tupper Boathouse, once it's restored, will be our home. And the programming that we've had already has included a number of lectures and events. We've had kayak tours with Shinnecock history lessons. We have had watercolor classes. We have had lectures on whaling out here on the East End. We had a lecture on the Tupper, from the Tupper family on the history of the Tupper Boathouse. And we look to have a lot more lectures like the lectures you're going to hear tonight from Mark Analetti. Right now, the North Sea Maritime Center is in the midst of a fundraising operation. In order for us to make the restoration that we want to do, the first-class restoration that we're going to do for the Tupper Boathouse, we have to raise $1 million. The town of Southampton will match that and with more money, $6 million more. But once we raise the $1 million, we will start to break ground and move forward. This is a representation of what the rendering will look like out there in Conscience Point, and we really look forward to that, hopefully breaking ground sooner than later. Maybe this year is what we're looking forward to. As part of the fundraising, we have two things that I want to talk to you about. One is the plaque campaign that we're doing right now. For $3,000 for individuals or $6,000 for businesses, you can have a plaque that will be permanently on our building as part of the fundraising that we're doing. And here's one for the Clayman family. Connie is, you met her at the door. She's one of our officers. Her family has generously given a plaque. And here's another one for Laura Reisman VC, who is also the daughter of one of our directors as well. So you will see out there in the hallway that you came in, a brochure like this one here. It looks like the cover of the page we just had, but these brochures are out there for you to take home with you. It describes our organization, it describes what we want to do, and it talks about the fundraising that we're doing for the North Sea Maritime Center. The other fundraising opportunity that we're having right now will be the Boathouse Bash. You may have seen some signs around it. You would see it at an invitation on our website. The Boathouse Bash is coming up September 27th. The Postma family, Janet and Bob Postma, have generously offered their home in Watermill for us to have the Boathouse Bash, which we are looking forward to coming up here on September 27th. We'll have live entertainment, we'll have food, we'll have auction items, we'll have some art for sale as well. So if you're looking to have a great time and couple that with an opportunity to give to an organization that desperately needs your money, this should be a fun event for everyone to attend to. Let's see here. To date, the North Sea Maritime Center has successfully raised over $700,000 of the $1 million that we have to raise. We've received gifts from over 150 different donors. If you've given, thank you. If you have not, please consider us as part of the charity that you give. This is a worthwhile organization. It's going to be worthwhile for our community. It's going to be worthwhile for the children in our community as well. I would like to introduce some of the other directors that we have here today. Connie Clayman, our treasurer, Sheila Comparetto, who set forth the refreshments that we have. Kevin Beatty is here as well. Please give them a hand. None of our directors or officers receive a dime for what we're doing, and actually we're paying for the opportunity to be involved in this organization. So I really appreciate personally what they do, and we should all reward them for what they've done. I'd also like to acknowledge the Suffolk County grant that we have received for part of the programming that we've done this summer. And with all that being said, I'd like to introduce our speaker tonight, Mr. Mark Analetti. Tonight's presentation will be Rain Gardens, Natives, and Pollinators. Mark is the third of 4 generations of Jacob Analetti Landscaping. I see 2 of his sons and his wife are here as well. His son Alex is also the 4th generation of Analetti landscapers. You've seen Mark's work and the Analetti family landscaping work around the area here. You've seen it at the bioswale on the corner of Windmill Lane and Nugent, across from the library, which Deputy Mayor Gina Aresta said was an important installation in support of ongoing environmental efforts to put in native plants to fight erosion and act as filters to fight pollutants in the water bodies, including Lake Agawam. You've also seen some of their work at the Southampton Fresh Air Home. Mark has been in the landscaping business in the East End for over 50 years, and during that time he's continued to educate himself on the importance of native plants and the need for sustainable landscapes in the area. Mark has an associate's degree in landscape design from Farmingdale State College. As impressive as Mark's background is in landscaping, is his volunteer work as a community leader here in the Southampton area. He is a director and officer of our organization, the North Sea Maritime Center, and chair of the upcoming gala, the Boathouse Bash. He is also chair of our plaque campaign that I just spoke to you about. He is the president of the Southampton Golf Club, where he's guided it through the COVID shutdown and to the most recent 100-year anniversary for that organization. In the past, he was a founder and director of SYS, Southampton Youth Services, Inc., and its president for a decade. In 2019, the Epley Benedict family, donors for our organization as well, dedicated the Path Youth Center in honor of Mark's tireless service. Organizing, managing, and coaching a basketball team here in Suffolk County for the last 15 years is what Mark will tell you is what he's most proud of doing in terms of his volunteer work. At least one of our donors has described Mark as a modern-day Renaissance man, and I agree with that. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Analetti.
The things you're willing to go through to get a little love from a buddy. Oh, that's right. I need that. First off, I want to thank you, Ted, for those nice words. I want to thank my board for the support and the effort that it goes into the North Sea Maritime Center. It has been a labor of love. I know Ted used the word charity a few times. To me, the Boathouse is not a charity. It is an investment in our community. There are so many causes out there to save people's lives, to feed people, to home people. They are absolutely the most important things in our world. However, if you love Southampton and you want to see Southampton have great facilities, this is going to be one of them. So thank you very much. I want to thank the Cultural Center, Kirsten Lonnie, for the use of this facility. I want to thank very much and everyone out who showed up tonight. Thank you. There's a little bit of irony to this because my first foray into higher education, I went to the University of Rhode Island, where I spent 2 years having a hell of a good time. I took a class. Ironically, it was on home landscaping. It was those easy A classes you're supposed to take. And I showed up for the final exam, and the professor wanted to see my ID because he didn't believe I was in the class. So the fact that I am now on the other side of that coin is kind of weird. So anyway, thank you so much. All right, so let's get started. So when I first said I wanted to do this, Ted said to me, well, we're a history museum. He goes, you're a 4th-generation local business. You need to talk about it. I was a little apprehensive about it, but the more I thought about it, I said, okay. And then I thought, well, can I tie this to Southampton, to North Sea? And actually I can. So in 1933, a young man, Jacob Antoletti, and a few other young men were abducted and brought to an isolated cabin in North Sea. As some of you may know, and during the Prohibition era, the East End, in particular North Sea, Noyac, with all its hidden coves, was a plethora of bootleg activity. The liquor could come down from Canada, and they could come into these dark harbors at night, and it was a big business out here. So anyway, Jacob was in this story, and that's him. That's my grandfather. That's Jacob. This is actually the police photo from this alteration. So let's see. Let me get that on there. Now my clicker's not working. Did you see it? Oh boy. There we go. Okay. So he first started this business in 1934. He was partnered with a gentleman, Stanley Zaloga. And if you were around in the Hamptons in the last 190 years, there was a Polish mafia that pretty much cut every lawn and cut every hedge in town. The Antolettis, the Zalogas, and the Grodzkis. The Frankenbacks, they were the big planters. They moved all the trees. But for the rest of us, we cut a lot of grass, we cut a lot of hedge. He also had, apparently he had a cow named Daisy who they delivered milk. And here's one of the first groups of men who worked for my grandfather. They were all Polish immigrants. We have survived on immigrant labor for 91 years. It started out with Polish immigrants through the 70s and 80s. It was black gentlemen who came up from the South to escape Jim Crow and to find work in the North. And now, of course, it's the Latino population who I just couldn't live without. So I want a shout out to all of the men who have worked for us over those 90 years and the efforts they've given us so we can beautify this area. Okay. So this is my grandparents' backyard. This is 59 thank you, Alex. This is 59 Pulaski Street. This is my Uncle Jack. He was partners with my father and my grandfather is Jake. He's whispering something into my Aunt Rita's ear that she doesn't seem too impressed about. This is my maternal grandmother, and if there's one thing that the Antolettis liked to do other than work, it was party. So it was, this is all the trucks from back in the day. This greenhouse I used to go into as a kid, and I used to help my great aunts seed up all the cutting flowers. Back then, there wasn't all these perennials and stuff. You planted zinnias, you planted snapdragons, marigolds, vegetables, and my grandfather used to pot them up into that greenhouse in these little wooden flats, and then we would, we would transplant them into the gardens in the spring. The beauty of that is there wasn't one plastic pot. So that led to this guy. This is my father. This is Bill Antoletti. He passed away in 22, but he was the guy who really was the driving force behind this business, grew it to another level. He became a very top guy in terms of grading. He was an excellent grader. At the time, next picture. So this is my brother. This is my father. These lock mowers, this is what we mowed all our lawns with. I had about 8 or 10 in the neighborhood. Back in 1974, when I first started working for the company, we mowed 165 lawns in the village of Southampton, and none of them north of the highway. So we literally went up and down the estate areas cutting grass. As for me, I really didn't have a chance. Most young kids got race cars or rocket ships. I got a dump truck. So my fate was sealed. This picture is, I grew up in Roscoe Drive. I think most of you are aware where Roscoe Drive is. It was a tremendous place to grow up. We were one of the first houses in Roscoe Drive, and every summer there were 3 new houses going up. There were fields everywhere. There was unbuilt houses to roam and to explore. There was scrap lumber to build forts with. So I thought maybe construction was going to be my future, but my future was never too far behind me. After some forays into education and figuring out what I wanted to do, I finally hooked up with this guy. And what a time we had to be able to work with your dad for 4 decades, shoulder to shoulder, creating projects together, was just a gift that you just can't explain. So at the time, my father had been working with this gentleman. This is Ed By, A.E. By. Mr. By was one of the most influential landscape architects of the 20th century. We ended up doing about 12 projects with this gentleman. There's some of his books are out there that you can look through, but he never went anywhere without his camera. He had his camera with him all the time, and he took amazing photos, but he taught me so much. Here's a couple of his books. And so the first project that Mr. By did with my father was this property here. This is on Halsey Neck Lane. This is the property of George and Annalise Soros. Annalise sadly just passed away. One of the most elegant, one of the most beautiful women I had ever met. She was an absolute class act, and we will miss her severely. But they won a national award for this grading. Ed used to call up my father and say, "Bill, is the snow receding into the hollows?" He was big on shadow. When people were designing English gardens and figuring out where to plant trees, this guy was thinking in 3rd dimension. It was a gift to have spent that much time with this gentleman. So, after a long time, I had my own family, and my own son, Alex, he joined us, and now we are 4. And just like these 2, now it's these 2, and I mean, who gets to do that in their life, really? I mean, it's been just a tremendous, tremendous run, and I'm so happy to have Alex. He's actually running everything now. I get to do fun stuff like this, and he's the nuts and bolts now, and I couldn't be more proud. This gentleman here, this is Luther Williams. This is my father. This is at my other son, Zach's wedding, which was on one of the properties we've been on for the entire 91 years we've been in business. We've been on this property the entire 91 years. So these gentlemen are what makes it work. And again, thank you so much, guys, for everything you do. All right. There could be a 5th generation. This is my grandson, Ben, who just loves being out in the dirt, loves working, and maybe there'll be Another generation, we'll see, we'll see. Okay, so I talked about Ed By being an influence in my life and professionally. Then Alex came on board and we started going to these seminars for this man. This is Larry Weiner. His books are out there. Larry is the Johnny Appleseed of this whole movement towards sustainable landscapes. I highly recommend you go to his seminars, which this is his book here. It's out there on the table to look at. But he holds these 2-day symposiums in Connecticut College. It's usually the middle of January. It's 2 days of speakers. You take the ferry over. There's a Holiday Inn right there. It's at Connecticut College. It's a beautiful campus. It has its own arboretum. And they have multiple speakers. I actually have a number of brochures out there from some of the seminars so you can kind of see what kind of speakers they get. He also has these virtual programs. He does these intense workshops where they take you through plant selection, everything from site analysis, plant selection, how to put them in the ground, and how to maintain them and weed, so which is a critical part of this whole thing. This is some of Larry's work. Most of his work is in Pennsylvania and Massachusetts, large scale meadows. This here. So I want to talk about biodiversity. And so people are saying, well, a golf course? Why a golf course? So this is called Sand Hills. It's in the Nebraska region, the Sand Hills region of Nebraska. And the reason I brought this picture up is because this area here is some of the most diverse, beautiful landscape you're ever going to be around. This golf course was built by not moving any dirt. None of these bunkers were man-made. These are all natural blowouts of sand. The only areas that were graded were the tee boxes, but the entire ribbon of grass was all just run through the entire ground, and it is just a spectacular place. Every month there's something else blooming. The last time I was there, it was sunflowers, and the sunflowers go on forever. So to get there, the Sand Hills is a 12 million acre part of the Great Plains. It is considered one of the last remaining pristine prairies in the world. And this is the Sand Hills. This is what you drive. This is literally 4 hours of looking at this. And while it sounds like it's kind of boring, the scale, it's just so spectacular, and its diversity is amazing. It's a lot of cattle ranches out there. Here's the woolly verbena. Not quite sure what this is, but there's always something blooming when you're out there. It's just an amazing, amazing place. So there we go. Okay, so we'll get this. I was supposed to be able to do this from my clicker, and it doesn't work, so I apologize. So this whole thing, biodiversity, what exactly does that mean? So this is, when you look at that previous picture and you see all those grasslands, this is what you're looking at, and this is the most important zone. Well, actually, they're both important, but what you have to remember about a biodiverse garden is the ability for everything to coexist. You can see every plant has its own area that they need to draw their nutrients from, different ways. You know, when you think of a row of boxwood or you think of a hedge, all the plants, all the roots are in one zone. And here you can see this is a whole community right down here. And then, of course, up above, you have all these different plants. This one is shading, giving this one shade. These two are helping this one stand up. And this is what a biodiverse community looks like. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a project that is really, really dear to my heart, and that is the sensory garden we did at the Southampton Fresh Air Home. I was asked by some people there, and I want to recognize them right now. The Executive Director, Tom Naro, Nikki Grant, Kathy Price, Barbara Glatt, Barbara McEntee, Michaela Kessler, and Crystal Mezcat, who's in the room tonight. These ladies do an incredible job there. I don't know if anyone has ever been up there, but it is one of the true treasures of this area, the work that they do with the kids that they do. It is a campground for these kids that are, not only are they coming from a lot of times inner cities, but you can see they are dealing with so many disabilities. These kids really lost out on the life lottery, but this place is a place where they can go and be a kid for a week if they can. So when we started talking about it, the first things Tom wanted, he said, why don't we do a rain garden? So I said, well, he said, we got this area here. This is like a dead space. These Norway maples were kind of dying anyway. So I said, well, maybe we should go a little farther than a rain garden. I said, these kids, they'll never be able to go out into the sand hills and be able to go into a desert and be able to see this kind of stuff. So why don't we bring it to them? So this is basically the sensory garden there. So we have a fire pit. We have a pond with a waterfall. We have a living teepee. We have wind chimes, and we have a touch garden, and we have a couple of bridges, and this is all plants and drainage that go underneath the bridge down to this rain garden down here that unfortunately you can't really see that well. So the first thing we had to do was clear it. We filled it in. It needed to be a little higher. These are Nyssa sylvatica wildfire. These are a cultivar of the natural, the native Nyssas that you see out here. This ramp here, going down here, this is where a lot of the kids line up in their wheelchairs to go to the pool. So they wanted to have some sort of shade for the kids when they're online going into the pool. So we kind of rung them with these trees. Here's just another view of it. The trees here, and again, we kind of filled this in. Here's the sitting wall that's going to be over by the fire pit. We're trenching in the gas line, the electric for the fire pit. This is the start of the rain garden. We're starting to dig this out. I'll explain how this all kind of worked. The town, we really thought about, do we need to get a building permit for this? Tom was like, really, we really should. You know, we're a public place. So we went for a building permit for this. And the amount of hoops they made us jump through for drainage calculations was off the charts. And I tried to explain to him, I said, this is very different. We're here to let the plants absorb the water, not to just put it in the ground. So you can see here, so here's the start of the retaining wall. So what is important that I want to show here is what I needed to do, or what we needed to do is we needed to get water that's cascading down this hill to not go down into here, but to come all the way around and go around to the rain garden. So you can see we kind of created these little channels up in here. We couldn't get water from here to here. So in here that comes down, there's a little channel that comes down, and we created like a little pool. So any of this water comes down and it gets collected there. Anything from this point forward comes down this channel, comes down through this channel, and it goes underneath the bridge, and it goes to the rain garden. We started bringing in some plants. This is where I really learned a lot from Ed By. Ed By was a master. Ed By would say, Mark, I make fun of his voice, but that's how he spoke. He said, Mark, he said, get 500 of these and 200 of these and another 150 of these, and we're going to lay them out. and he was a master. Layering plants, making plant colonies feel like they were connected, like they were together. So he was really a big influence in my doing this kind of work. We started laying out the plants. Again, Hampton style is instant, right? And we were very fortunate that the donors of the Fresh Air Home were so generous in allowing us to really create this instant garden. Here you can see the rain garden being laid out. These are the plants that are being laid out. Here is a couple of the bottle brush buckeyes that we planted. Here's going to be the future fire pit. This is going to be the pond and the waterfall, and this is going to be the touch garden. The touch garden was really important to me because I wanted something that kids can touch in a wheelchair. Here we're starting to get going in here. We've got this, we're starting to get plants in. We're kind of framing it out for concrete. We're pouring the concrete. Not the most charming surface, but again, this has to function. These are kids in wheelchairs. It has to be smooth. It has to be level. And so concrete was our really only choice for that. Here's the touch garden here. The concept here is a kid can come around in the wheelchairs and put their hand in here, and in here, we got some other pictures in here later on, but in here we had things like lamb's ear, prickly pear, everything from something that they could feel softness, they could feel pricklies, they could feel whatever. So it was so important to bring nature to them, not have, because there's no way they could go out to nature. Here is the living teepee. We've really had a little trouble getting stuff. My dream was to have plants growing on it, squash or something that are hanging down like lanterns in there. We've had a few issues with getting stuff established on there with deer and other things. This bridge was added. This wasn't going to be a bridge, but we had a number of donors who wanted their names on something, and Tom came to me in a panic and goes, "We need another bridge." So what we ended up doing is, so now this side here drains underneath this bridge and comes down into the rain garden here. So it really worked out well. Here's the touch garden. You can see, the lamb's ear, the prickly pears. We had hens and chicks in there. Here are the chimes, the wind chimes. Again, it's all about sensory. Sound, fire, touch. These they all have a different sound to them, and we had a little trouble with the grass growing up around it to kind of stop them from. So we have to keep that trimmed. So here's the back of the pond. Here is the rain garden. You can see some solidago in here. You got the panicum, Shenandoah with the red. You got some verbascum. You got the Fortunae agastaci, the caryxes. You got the astromia, a number of things. You're probably wondering what these things are. They were our attempt at insect houses. But unfortunately, even though it has the best rent in the Hamptons and one of the best views in all the Hamptons, we've had no takers. But they do look cool, and they add to the garden. But that's what those were supposed to be, our insect houses. All right, so here now you can see how thick and quickly this all filled in. Here we have Cecillaria. We have all the Carex stricta. The Carexes, I'm going to talk about them a little bit later, a little more, but the Carex really are the workhorses down. You have the swamp butterfly weed, Asclepias incarnata, some panicum. There's some more in there. Here, this silvery plant. This is the mountain mint. So it's very diverse. I love the panicles of the panicum, the way they kind of dance around. We had a friend visitor here, and here you can see the mountain mint and it all kind of filling in. Got a Siberian iris in there. We have some flag iris as well, but this is a beautiful Siberian iris that was in there. Every garden should have alliums. They're easy. The deer don't eat them. They're beautiful. This one, I believe, is Millennium. In the background, you have Rudbeckia and Coreopsis. So it's kind of, even though they're similar in flower, they are different. But it's just a beautiful combination. Here's the Joe Pye weed. I love adding some annuals, especially tall, wispy ones. This happens to be the bog sage. This is Salvia uliginosa. Yeah, so it's beautiful. And it's just, here again, you can see our insect houses that are all empty, sadly. But again, you can see here the mountain mint kind of crawling through here. And the whole idea is to just not see dirt. You don't want to see dirt. Larry Weiner, in his seminars, will tell you the last thing he will do is mulch. He hates it. He said, you don't use mulch. He said, you seed, you fill it in, you want it thick, you want it full, and this is your best chance of keeping out weeds. I love this one. This is the little blue stem with the mountain mint. Just this, this monochromatic feeling. The vertical spikes of the blue stem with the silvery foliage of the mountain mint. This mountain mint is just full. Not in this picture, of course, but it's just full of those little tiny bees. They just love it, love it, love it. Here you see the mountain mint, not in a monochromatic, but in kind of a contrasting style with the with the Coreopsis, and it's just a beautiful look. I am a collector of crap, and on a job site, we had found this old cedar stump, tree trunk, that was wrapped in all these vines, probably killed the tree. And I brought it back, and it sat in the corner of our shop for about 2 years, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And then I said, you know what? Let's put it in the rain garden. Let it decompose. This is where little pockets of water collect. Bees and insects, they don't go to big bodies of water for water. They look for little pockets of water. So you want to create spots in your garden where these bugs can get these just little spots of water. So it looks cool in there, and it serves a purpose, and it'll gradually decompose. Here's the waterfall. You got the Verbena bonaris back there. I mean, every garden needs to have this. I believe this is Lollipop, the shorter one. Here's the Cecillaria, the autumn moorgrass, some blue salvia in here, the alliums. So there's a little better view of the whole garden. So, like I said, the concept is for water to kind of come around here. It comes down, goes under there, and into here. You can just see how all those channels that I talked about where we were feeding the water, we filled them in with the carex. So this water, as it's moving through these channels, is being just absorbed by all of this. So by the time it gets here, there's hardly anything here. It's all been stopped and collected and absorbed by plants who are just, as you can see, very, very happy to take it. Again, I love adding some annuals. This is the Gumphena. This is, I believe, Strawberry Fields. Just adding a little extra to the garden. Here is I love the red with the red of the Shenandoah panicum, the Joe Pye weed. Again, the mountain mint. I love mountain mint. The deer don't eat it. It's a rambler. You can see how it's just kind of it's. People will say it's invasive. I have not found it to be that invasive. It's kind of like a friendly invader. It just finds pockets to fill in around stuff, and it just adds some great tapestry to the plant palette. We got a little friend. This bridge here. again, I'm a saver of stuff. One of our properties, a huge taxus, multi-stem taxus had died. It was probably 150 years old. It had finally croaked. And of course, I took all the wood. Didn't know what I was going to do with it. But as soon as this project came, I knew where it needed to go. A very talented craftsman by the name of Craig John, an Englishman, he built this bridge, this walkway here, and then this railing with the taxus. You can see the bigger stumps we used on the corner. This is just beautiful. This wood, and this will be here forever. I had these stacked up in my backyard for years, and it doesn't decompose because it has toxins in it, and the bugs won't eat it. Here you see the calamaris we planted behind the living teepee. These were just cosmos that we seeded in, here's the sescelaria. The grass, I love the autumnmore grass is a great grass. It stays this nice compact size, and it really is a great filler. This one here, I mean, I love this picture. Here you can see the bottlebrush buckeye in flower. The coreopsis, one of my favorite all-time plants is the echinacea. I just love it, love it, love it. Sadly, so do the deer. So sadly today, these plants are no longer there. They require a lot of care just to keep them alive, and the deer. Believe it or not, I try to hide stuff in these gardens. I planted stuff on like the steepest banks, hoping that the deer weren't going to get to them, but they eventually found some of this stuff. And here you can see, and again, this is kind of where you don't even see that channel drain. But this is right in here is where I said we made that little pool. You don't see anything, but water comes down this hill. It's being absorbed by all these plants, and it collects in this one little area. And since we built this, of all the heavy rains we've had over all these years, not once have I seen water go over that wall. Again, in the keeping with the treasures we find, this is a black walnut stump that I had found. It had rotted out in the center, and it was the perfect thing to put over the irrigation box. So the irrigation box is in there. You can't see it, but it hides, that ugly green box. Speaking of irrigation, we put it in when we did the garden. We used it the first summer. You got to get this stuff acclimated. You got to get it set in. But we haven't used this irrigation system in 3-4 years, and this is how it looks. There's the fire pit. Again, you can see the up in here. You can see this is the Astromeria. Again, you can see the Astromeria. Here you can see the cosmos behind the living teepee. Thick and lush. Here are the wind chimes. Again, they just make beautiful, beautiful music. The kids go in there and they knock these paddles back and forth, and they each have a different tone to them, and when they're in harmony, it just sounds beautiful. This is the left-hand side of the living teepee. I was telling where we had to make the second bridge. Here's the cosmos in the back, and here's a bat house. So here you can see this is the carex. This, I believe, is the carex divulsa. And again, it's basically just sucking up any water that comes down through this channel and goes underneath the bridge. Bird houses. We're offering free room and board for all sorts of critters. Again, this fire pit, normally I would make this a little more intimate, but when you are bringing in, every kid has their own counselor, because these kids need a lot of help. physical help. So, if you've got 20 kids out there in wheelchairs and they each have a counselor, you need space. Here's the Econops here. This is in the touch garden, very prickly. Like I said, the touch garden is a combination of soft, prickly, pointy, and whatnot. Here you can see the echinacea is hanging in there for now. Coreopsis. Same thing. I just love the blue stem, the way it kind of dances through the garden. You can start to see remnants of the Agastache fortunei. And again, some inkberry. We did add some inkberry. We do have to net these in the winter. The deer, they'll eat them in the winter. They don't touch them in the summer. Here's the butterfly weed. You got the mountain mint. Again, you're gonna find in my gardens I have plants that I like. I know there's 1,000 plants out there. You can go online. I have people in this audience, it's like Lydia Wallace, who probably know more plants than I do. But I go with what works. I go with what I like. I go with what works. Here you can see the kids. They're chasing butterflies in the garden, and it has to be probably the most special project I've ever been involved in, because when you are there and you see the activity and what these people do and how the joy on these kids that are just, it's heartbreaking to see, but it's also inspiring. There is a woman who is a director here. She is about 3.5 foot tall. She is a quadriplegic. She's in a wheelchair. She started out here as a camper. She is now one of the directors. So it's a very cool story. Again, here we are out at the fire pit. They just love coming out here. All I get is compliments on the kids and the counselors, and I'm told it's their favorite place to go on the property. So it's been a lot of fun. All right, the next one we're going to talk about is the bioswale here in town. And that was a result of the Lake Agawam Conservancy reaching out to me. They had seen what I had done at the Fresh Air Home, and they had asked if I'd be interested in doing some work with the bioswale. So how does a bioswale work? It's pretty simple. Water comes into here. Water gets absorbed by the plants before it goes into the ground. This was my original design. This line here is the existing. I was a little bold in my plan. One of the complaints that the Conservancy had with the existing one was how deep it was. So I kind of suggested maybe we expand it and kind of have more of a gradual grade in there. We could maybe add some paths around it. But the mayor squashed that. He said, this is where they do the Christmas decorations. They want to do maybe something eventually back in here. So we had to stay within the existing footprint. While we're here, basically, this garden, what's really important to understand when you're doing gardens like this is they have to be, there's two zones. There's the bottom where it's really wet, and then you have the banks which are really dry. So even though they're very close, they have to be completely different types of plants. They cannot plant in the water, which you'll see in the next picture. In here, you can see how much water goes in there. This isn't a rain. This isn't a bioswale. This is a sump. We don't want this water to be unfiltered going into the ground. I mean, the concept of this, of when they did this, was for years road runoff came into these drains and went straight to Agawam. So what they created was this bioswale to collect that water before it went into the outlet to Lake Agawam. But unfortunately, it really wasn't successful planting-wise, especially on the bottoms, where we really needed to figure out a way to absorb this water. It is a harsh environment. Water rages through here. I've talked to a gentleman who did a similar one in East Hampton, and they actually had to stake the plants down with wooden stakes because of the runoff would just blow the plants out of the ground. We were very lucky here. We were able to plant this thick and full. You can see we're starting to plant. We had a lot of rain when we first started doing it, which was great, but we had to wait for this to dry up to finish planting. Here you can see we put 3,000 plants in here. When the Conservancy asked me to do this, I told them I would only do it under one condition, that we planted this thick and full. You know, we had a lot of rain, so you can see how successful stuff is starting to come in here. There's the Monarda, here's the penstemon. This is the swamp magnolia, Magnolia virginiana. So we wanted to get some height in here. We have some more nisses. We have some amelanchier on the banks. You can see the ferns. So early spring, here's the blue flag iris, which this was an existing part that was there. We added a lot of ferns. Here's the winterberry, the Ilex reticulata. And here are the variegated twig dogwoods. Here, this is the Agastache fortunei. You can see the butterfly weed coming in here, the penstemons, the trees. The key was to get the height so it didn't feel like it was a hole. This should be in every garden. This is penstemon black tower. You're going to see as we go through this garden, we're going to go pretty much from May to now, and you're going to see the staying power of this plant. This really no water, very little, has this beautiful pink flower, but even after it's long gone, this foliage stands out in the garden all year long. Here the garden is starting to take off. You can see this is the Agastache fortunei. They're the first show-offs in the garden. You know, they got the mallows down in here. Here's the rushes, the juncus in there. You can see it starts to take on kind of like a Monet type feel to it. You know, it's the flowers are all kind of they're soft pastels. Here's the Monarda fistulosa. Here is the other mountain mint as well. You can see the hibiscus, the mallows starting to come up that will be blooming later on in the summer. We did a lot of seed in between the plants. When we were done, we added wildflower seed. Here you can see the cosmos and the bachelor buttons and the poppies that are starting to fill in between the plants. Here is a different mountain mint we used. And you can just see how things are starting to really fill in. There was a pair of butterflies that flew around here all summer. I could never get them to stand still to take their picture, so this was the best I could do. But they really did enjoy it in there. Here's again, it kind of has, it's not a really great picture, it's a little fuzzy, but here it's kind of that Monet feel. What I want to kind of show here is kind of some of the concepts that Mr. Bai really taught me, and that was to not be afraid to plant a little haphazardly. You know, people tend to plant in groups. They want to plant in bunches. You know, but in nature, what happens when the birds and the water are moving seeds of plants? They're cascading down. So not everything stays stagnant in one spot. So you don't be afraid to mix and intermingle your plants. Same thing in here. This is the Panicum North Wind. This was part of the existing planting that was there when we took over. It's a little stiff for me in this garden. To me, it's more of a contemporary grass that I would use, but it was in the garden, and it does create quite a contrast. I love the verticalness of the two. Here, this is the wild yellow indigo. That was also here, but you can see the penstemon, the dark towers. Here's the mountain mint. See this? If you notice, this is a different mountain mint in here. Some of the seed again. You see some of the seed. I love the way the Menard just kind of like just yeah, it's leggy. It's not neat and compact, but again, this is a wild garden, right? Here, this is a great illustration of how thick and full. Remember you saw all that water earlier? That water ain't going anywhere anymore. These plants are soaking up that water like crazy. They are happy as hell in there, and it's been very successful. The swamp butterfly weed, Asclepias incarnata, they're starting to take up in the middle of the summer, and just a beautiful, beautiful plant. Here now the penstemon, you can again, they were blooming a month ago. They're no longer blooming, but look at the contrast and look how strong they are still in the garden. Here you see the seedings, you see the mountain mint. Here's the culver root that's coming in over here. And again, just like the penstemon, the Agastache fortunae, all season long. It's just a strong, strong plant. Here you can really see, yes, it's nice to see the flowers up above and all that, but this is where the real work is being done. Here's a nice picture of the culver root, just a beautiful plant. Again, here's the poppies from the seeding, from the wildflower seed coming in. They're just coming up randomly or in and out of the garden. Now, as we go on later into the season, the rose mallow are starting to bloom, and this was probably one of my most pleasant surprises. I did not plant any echinacea in this garden because of my concerns with deer. Most of the stuff that I put in here is deer-proof, but what is key in here is how diverse this is. And for deer are lazy. They don't want to look. They don't want to hunt. They want to find a place and they want to eat. So all of this diversity allowed this coneflower to kind of hide in the garden and survive this summer. Again, here's the little blue stem. And again, they like it dry, dry, dry. So, when everything else is pooping out, they're just standing tall. So then came later in the summer, and I couldn't have been more tickled pink or tickled red, I should say, with the lobelia. This is the lobelia cardinalis. You can see the garden is taking on a whole different look now. Instead of that kind of pastel, purpley, pink, Monet kind of feel, well, now we're getting into a little more of a dramatic look. And the lobelia was just randomly planted in this garden, and you can see these are 7 foot tall in the middle of the garden. Again, here we are, late August. These bloomed in early June, and look at the dark towers. They are just still making their presence felt in the garden. And the lobelia. This is the milkweed. These are oleander aphids. Oh my God, that's terrible. They're going to eat these. They're going to destroy these plants. But this is food for somebody. There are bugs and there are birds that are going to come and eat these. So here again we have the blue stem. This is what's left of the Bernarda. I know people tend to see their gardens decline and they get depressed. But look at how interesting these seed heads are, these round seed heads with the real vertical grass. I love the pink of the Joe Pye weed and the red of the cardinal flower. And again, you can see my truck up here. That's street level. The bottom of this bioswale is probably about 7 feet below street level, and you can see where these grasses. Where these lobelias are poking almost to that full 7 foot. Typically ferns, we all love ferns, except for Michael, he doesn't like ferns. Typically ferns are, they emerge in the spring. You saw them in the earlier picture with how beautiful they looked. And typically they take a very prominent spot in gardens. They're very regal. This is the ostrich fern. But here, they're a worker. They're doing grunt work. And what's nice about it is all these plants, these taller plants, are providing the shade for plants like the ferns. So even though this is a full sun garden, those plants below are getting the shade they needed above all these plants. Here again, the Fortunae is still in bloom. This is one I did not plant. This is a lanceolate aster, but it's starting to bloom now, and it's going to be a nice treat for the fall. Again, I couldn't get enough of this lobelia. To me, it's like it's like the Royal Army, just all marching towards victory. Now we're getting late in the season, the grasses take over, and again, here we are, this is taken in September, and look at the penstemon, it's still hanging in there. The Fortunae still hanging in there. This one here, this is Solidago sempervirens. This is the seaside Solidago. This is going to be the next show. They're just like this now. This is actually a stock photo because they're not in bloom yet, but this is the flower that you'll see on these. And this is going to be, we'll enjoy this probably until October. All right, so that's the bioswale. I'm just going to go run through a bunch of smaller gardens that I've done, some not so small. Some of them are people that are in this room. This happens to be the garden of Huguette Hirsch. She and her husband Dennis had hired me a number of years ago to do a garden there. This is actually a rain garden. This is in the corner of the property. The entire property pitches down into this corner. A lot more rock. We used a lot of rock in here, but you can see we kind of filled in with the grasses. Here you got the sweet woodruff. This is the epimedium. Obviously the dogwood is in bloom. This is a nyssa in here. Got some viburnum. Again, the sweet woodruff. So, this whole yard just kind of pitches back into here, and the water just runs off from all sides. So there's no reason to have an ugly box drain into a big dry well, Here, we brought our own wildlife here. The iris is blooming. Just a beautiful, beautiful garden, and working with Dennis and Huguette was a real treat. This one is out in North Haven. This is on the water. And this is a combination, again, a limited plant palette. In here, the grass we used is Descampsia, which is a beautiful grass. And what's cool about the Descampsia is its panicles come out early in the summer. Most grasses are typically in the fall, but the Descampsia is putting out these panicles in the summer. Here we have the butterfly weed. This is some blue stem along here. You got the Russian sage. This is Solidago fireworks, very tall, very late blooming, cool yellow flower, but doesn't really bloom until late September into October. This is the Pennisetum redhead. I kind of gotten away from using the Pennisetums. They tend to sow themselves in the grass, and they're very difficult to mow. Love this tree, even though it's half dead. It's just such a dramatic look in here. But again, you can see those panicles on the Descampsia. It just mixes really well. One of the things that I learned here is, like I said earlier, the blue stem is typically a very dry-loving plant because of these slopes and the grass paths here. This tends to be where the water ends up. So it really wasn't a great choice for those areas because they're growing in more water than they really want to. This is the other side of the yard there. It was a historic property. We found these really cool old ballast pieces of stone. We made a bench out of this one. This is the lamb's ear. One of the things that people talk about with gardening, especially this kind of gardening and with using natives, is the idea that you have to stay to true natives. You can't deviate. But I find that really is not the case. There's so many great cultivars. And to me, You just have to, you've got to be a pollinator, you have to be a native, you have to be a good companion plant, and you have to be low fuss. Then you make my team. This is a property, this isn't really it's more like a drainage ditch. It was, it was a big yard. We built this basketball court for the client's son and daughter. But this dissects the whole property. Cuts through here. So a little bridge going from this side of the property, that side of the property. This is Calaminta, the Astromeria, which is, again, one of my favorite plants. You got the little blue stem, got some rocks in there, some gravel. And it just, instead of trying to pitch all the water away or somewhere else, we just got a place for all it to go. There's someone out here who knows this garden here. This is actually the front yard. This is a foundation planting. And in here, you can see the inkberries are the evergreens. But who said your front of your house has to be a boxwood hedge? Here you have the butterfly weed. This is in the Stachnyx family. This is belongs to the lamb's ear family. Here you have the Octostophalis. This is the backyard. Again, you can see the Japanese aster, the Astromea. This is just a beautiful, beautiful plant, and I love it. Ted, you recognize this place? This is my buddy Ted's house in Shinnecock Hills. And the reason I'm showing this is, number one, I want to give Ted a little love here. But again, you can see I tend to stay with the same plants. But what I want to show you here is the architect did not want more than those steps, which meant that from here down to here, which the next picture will show, is this cottage. But it is straight downhill. The water comes straight down that hill right to this cottage. So again, instead of having a box here that collects water or a drain trough, what we did was we created this little collection zone. There's a drain box down there, and it's piped to the side, so the water does go around the house eventually. But the water comes down. It first gets slowed up by the gravel, then the Sessilaria slows it down, and then we've got these rocks, we've got the ferns, and then it eventually makes it into the to the drain box and goes around. Again, major rains, and the water does not end up in the cottage. At least I hope it doesn't. Does it, Ted?
Nope.
Okay, good. This project was one out near the college. The owners wanted to do a bigger driveway. They wanted more driveway. You can see how it kind of pitches down to this side. We basically made the front yard a driveway. They wanted more parking. So this entire driveway now drains into this spot. And this was probably one of the worst profiles of earth we've ever worked with. It is just solid clay. You can dig and dig and dig and dig, and you're just going to have more clay. There was a gas line we could not identify running through here, so we couldn't really use big equipment. So really what we did was we put a small little Coltec 500-gallon, which is not a lot of coverage, not a lot of water when you're talking about a place of this size. We created this little trough, this little stream down the one side, so water comes down that hill. You saw in the other picture the sloping grass. So we planted the carex. This is silver scepter right here with some ferns. So water comes down, cascades down, runs through here, and it runs into our little rain garden that we created in here. This was the end of the first season. This is how happy these plants are when they get in the right environment. So here, this is the Carex stricta. This is the Carex. There are 2,000 varieties of Carex. They call them sedges. There's 2,000 different species of Carex. This is the Carex stricta. It loves wet feet. It loves being in water. Obviously, the ferns. You've got, again, we've got the butterfly weed. You can see how that, like I showed you, the water comes down. It runs through that little trough that we created with the, and it all, that entire driveway and this entire lawn all comes into just that spot. and it takes care of all of it. This is a property on ox pasture. Again, not really a wild garden, but this is the Carex divulsa. It handles shade really well. This used to be all grass, which was usually dead by August. We took all the grass out. We got the oak leaf hydrangea, and then we created these beds of the Carex in there, and the client loves it. These Carexes get a little, leggy. They got to be cut back. This one here, again, not really a wild garden, but shade is tough. Finding stuff. This is the Japanese forest grass with the ajuga, the little moss between the stepping stones. You got the viburnums. Really cool little garden. This garden here is, this was Annalise Soros' garden. Later, as she got older and her health started to deteriorate, you saw earlier the picture of her lawn. It was all rolling hills. Well, it was very difficult to get her from the house to the pool. She loved to swim. It was where she felt the best. And so they said, we can't get Mrs. Soros out to the pool over the grass. We needed to make some sort of path around the tennis court that's level, that's hard, that we can take her out there. So we created this garden that she came through in her wheelchair every day. I wish we had built this about 10 years earlier. She just absolutely loved it. This is my little friend Ben. He's my deadheader. You can see the path leading out to the pool. In here you see, again, she would come through here. I asked Abby, her caregiver, I said, is Mrs. Soros upset if the plants are hanging over and they're hitting her? And she was like, she absolutely loved it. She would just walk by and just touch everything and see the bees and see the hummingbirds and do everything. Yellow is a color that some people like, some people don't. This is actually a project Alex did out in the watermill. This is the Agastache Kudo. It's a beautiful yellow, and here's the Cecillaria with the alliums and the hydrangeas, the inkberries, and soft. This I don't know if some of you recognize it, but this is Skip Norsek building there up on the highway. He paid homage to the original car museum that was up there, so the building was built in the same shape with the blue color, and we wanted to add a real contrasting flower, so it's the yarrow, the coronation gold is the plant. There's some butterfly weed and some bayberry, and the trees are some tulip trees, but the town wanted this to be a very natural garden. This is my good friend Merrill Meltzer's garden. Again, there's a tennis court here. The property is over on that side. This was a nothing area behind the tennis court. It was just a flat piece of grass. And she said, we need to create something special in here, so we created this garden for her. Again, she's all caged in, so we could plant whatever we want. Here you see the Verbena bonaris. Here's the Astromera again. The cone flower, which was great. This is the white swan, which is the white one. She doesn't like pink, so planting a garden without pink is tough. So, but this is an echinacea. This is a sombrero. This is a really, really cool orangey color. Here you got the Russian sage, you got the Leotris here. You got the acanthus, the bear's breech here. And again, you just, it's a beautiful path. This is the rain garden we created for her. This was a very wet area. Again, nothing area, just grass. That's just the mowers, every time they mowed, they'd make ruts. She loved lily of the valley, so we got this lily of the valley. We planted lily of the valley around the outside, and then this is the troth, the iris. Here, this is this is a yellow variety of the butterfly weed. This is a great picture of the Astromea. This is the Japanese aster. Love it, love it, love it. It'll give you abundance of flowers. The little bees love it. It's a great plant. I put this garden in here, not because it has any wildflowers, but I thought she was going to come, so I wanted to have it in here. I don't know if she's here, but here is the Liberty Garden that we did up by the firehouse, up there by the reservation. You can see up in here, this is the stump of that tree that lent us all those limbs that we made that railing from the taxus. This is a memorial garden for 9/11, and to me, this collection of, this is not a great picture, but this collection here to me reminded me of the twisted metal of 9/11. So I wanted to put that in there. This is a dry riverbed. Again, not necessarily has to be full of plants. The gravel handles a lot of it. This doesn't get a huge amount of water, but it keeps water away. Here's the carex growing in there. You got the panicums. This is the Kafka garden that we did a couple of years ago with Michael and Jill. This is out here. This is just a spectacular property. It's surrounded by protected wetlands. It is stunning. It is a stunning piece of property. I just love it. And so the idea was to create this buffer zone to come off, so when the lawn would drain off before it got into the swamp, we created this buffer zone to stop all that runoff. Again, it's not super showy. It's not meant to be. You know, they're wild gardens. They're supposed to blend in. So, okay. So this one here, this is a client out in Noyak. She actually owned the house that I showed you with the basketball court, and she got ambitious, and she bought this big house out with a lot of property out in Noyak. It had been abandoned for a number of years. The yard was never taken care of. This was all weeds. The irrigation system didn't really work. It was a lot of lawn to mow. So I said to her, let's make some mowing patterns and let's let it go. Let's see what happens. That's all we did. Here you can see the clover coming in, the other weeds. I don't even know what they are, but you can see how much interest they bring. This was just letting the lawn go. That's all it was. We just stopped mowing it. No irrigation, so it tends to dry out. But again, it's you can see the contrast of the long grass to the mowed grass. And then when you have a spring like this year, this is that same yard with rain. So again, it looks so much different. Even though it's the same exact yard, it just looks so much different. Okay, mugwort. Boo, boo, boo. I don't know if you recognize where this is. This is the what used to be an incredible meadow on the corner of Old Town and Wickapog. The Keene Development did a beautiful job. Unfortunately, the Indian grass, which is that tall grass in the back, and the mugwort took it over. What's important with mugwort is you can't just pull it out of the ground. You have to cut it, you have to bury it, you can't let it have any light. At one of Larry's seminars, there was a speaker from Governor's Island, and they had a really hard problem with mugwort there. And what they did there was they mowed it all down. They must have had a source for cardboard boxes, and they got hundreds and hundreds of refrigerator boxes, dishwasher boxes, whatever, flattened them all out, put them down on top of the mugwort, put 6 inches of dirt over the cardboard, and we never saw mugwort again. So it does work. So one of the things that, a couple of the comments I get is, well, you know, those gardens look great for a while, but then the fall comes and the winter comes, and well, it just looks like weeds. It's really about, to do this kind of gardening, it's really about aesthetically looking at it differently. You can't look, people they like green, it makes them feel good. So I get that, but there's so much interest going on out here right now. Here is the the fresh air garden late in the fall. You can see the grasses are all turning, but there's so much interest out here. Again, you can see the combinations of stuff that's coming in here. This is the northern sea oats in here, up in here. The seed heads are amazing. I think the next picture might be coming up of that. We'll go to the next one. This is up at the Skip Norsick's property. Here you see the mountain mint. Here you see the alliums. Here's the Agastache fortunei. I mean, they're on their own. This is the Amsonia. A lot of people grow this not for its pretty blue flower, but for this. It's fall color. It's spectacular in the garden in the fall. This is an up-close picture of the seed heads for the northern sea oats. A person who turned me on to this is sitting right in this room, Miss Juget Hirsch. She is a talented artist, and she would make her own jewelry. And she had me grow sea oats because she would use these seed heads, and she would somehow probably use some sort of silicone or something to harden them, and she would make jewelry with them. Here's that rain garden on the Hirsch property in the fall. Again, I mean, how beautiful is all that? Here, this is a garden of grasses with a heavy frost on it. Now here, this is a Siberian iris that's in the garden, and it has this elegant beauty to it in May, June, and then it's this. And, it has this fiery side to it, and it's an appreciation. You have to learn to appreciate, the evolution. The other thing that's so important here is to know is these are all habitats now. All this stuff as it lays down. Never cut your gardens back in the fall. Leave this for the winter. This is where the stuff that's being left here is not only the mulch for the root systems, it's protecting the plant's own root system, but this is food, this is shelter, this is vital for so many critters that live out in our yards. This I did last Christmas. This is just a collection of seed heads from a winter garden, and this is still sitting on our table. It hasn't lost one leaf. It hasn't lost one seed, and this could be used year after year after year. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. So, from Jacob to Bill to the future. This sort of gardening, this sort of mindset towards what our gardens and what our yards should look like moving forward is so important. I've also had cynics tell me, well, you know what, you're doing all these gardens, but you know what, you're not going to change the migration of monarch butterflies, blah, 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 blah. Well, this garden here is a 4x8 kitchen garden, and here is the larva of the monarch butterfly in that garden. And what I'm hoping is this guy is going to go back to Mexico this winter and tell his friends, come to the Hamptons. It's a great place. So I do want to finish it. I have an excerpt from Mr. Bly's book, and I want to finish it with that because, like I said, he was a gift to be able to meet, to be able to work with, to be able to learn from. And this book is going to be out there. Another of his book is out there, but I just want to read one of the things. This book that he has here, this is Moods in the Landscape, and he talks about how our landscapes affect our moods. And he has great photos, but I want to read one excerpt. Today, in a country in which there is a lack of unity between the natural world and what we build, mood could potentially become a unifying element of design. We often turn to nature to satisfy emotional needs that we cannot satisfy through the environments in which we live. Our native landscapes can provide us with feelings of serenity or mystery or the feeling of the sublime. But rarely do we attempt to recreate these moods in our design landscapes. In less sophisticated cultures in which people interact directly with nature for their survival, we often find a more sensitive integration of human-made forms in the landscape. And from this, we must take a cue. So thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate you coming. This was a lot of fun. This was nerve-wracking, but it was a lot of fun. So we are going to raffle off our prizes. Before we do, I want to send a shout out to Fowler's Garden Center for donating the plants and our prizes. Pam Healy is here with us tonight. Raise your hand, Pam. Anyone who buys a plant in Southampton knows Pam. She is one of the hardest working people I have ever met. And she knows her stuff. A lot of the plants that you see, I get them from wholesale nurseries, but Glover, a lot of these came from Glover. It's a wholesale, so you got to go through your landscaper or go through a garden center. Pam does a tremendous job identifying great new stuff. I learned a lot just going to Fowler's and walking through her selections. She does a great job. So if you're interested in this and you're on the internet and you're finding great plants that you're interested in, please go see Pam. She will really help you out, and she's a great source. She's a great source. So now, thank you. So now we are going to raffle off our prizes. We have 3 prizes. The third prize is going to be 3 bags of wildflower seeds. Our second prize is going to be a tray of a meadow in a tray. And our grand prize is a collection of, I think there's like 18 or 20 really nice 1-gallon perennials that you will have an instant garden to take home. If you can't take it home tonight, that's okay. You can let me know where it needs to go, and I'll make sure you get it. All right? So let's see who's good. So we're going to go with the third prize first. So this is going to be the grass, the wildflower seed. All right, have your tickets out? All right, 398008. All right, very good. All right. So Connie will get the wildflower seed. So the next is meadow in a tray. It's a collection of grasses and some perennials, all native pollinators. I'll dig around in here. All right. 398007. Oh my. Huh? All right. There we go. Congratulations. And then the final, this is the grand prize. Like I said, it's a nice collection of stuff. And again, thank you so much to Fowler's Garden Center for their generosity and supporting not only this cause tonight and this raffle that we're doing, but Midge has become a great benefactor to our cause and is very, very generous. And we really appreciate all she's done. Okay, the grand prize winner, 398004. All right, we got a winner. Winner, chicken dinner. All right, so thank you so much for coming. Have a glass of wine, have a cup of coffee. I'll be out there if you want to ask some questions. There are some people in this room that are professionals that do a lot of work. Jimmy Frankenbach has got a lifetime of knowledge of land. I'm putting you on the spot, James. All right, you good with that? Lydia Wallace, Crystal Mezcat, these ladies, a lot of them I've worked with through the Garden Club. They are passionate gardeners, and they are just a thrill to work with. Thank you all so much for coming. Really, remember the boathouse, remember what we're all about, remember what this is about, and enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for coming.
Great job. That was fantastic.
That was good?
That really was fun. Good. I really loved it.
Excellent. All right, I'll come back and get this. Yeah, thanks, Mike.
I listened to you for a long time.
Yeah, good. Thanks.
That was really good.
Thanks.
Learned a lot. I love it.
Thanks. You got some work now. You got some work to do now. You got some planting to do.
Hey, thank you. I'll just grab that microphone from you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much. Sorry about the
That's
hassle.
okay.